Great. Welcome, everyone. We'll just wait a few minutes as everyone gets into the meeting before we start. I'll just wait until 1 minute past. Great, cool. Okay, well, we'll get started, everyone. So thanks, everyone, for joining. Just some quick introductions. So I'm Jesse Climette, and I head up the Microsoft mid-market department at WildTech. So we mainly focus around Business Central and all of the surrounding products. And then we've also got Sandra here from Software.
Hello, Jesse. Welcome to the webinar. I am Sandra, and I'm representing Software. So we are basically located in Europe. That's a really early morning for me to start the day with you on this webinar. Welcome, everyone. Nice gathering today.
Great. Yes, we've asked her to wake up at 6 a.m. So thank you so much for that. So a little bit about WildTech. So we are a technology partner, and we implement lots of different things, mainly in the ERP space at the moment is what I'll be focused on. So we work with a lot of different clients. We have a focus in manufacturing, in retail, supply chain, professional services, but financial services is what we want to talk about today. So what we've done is we've decided to find the best partner for financial services, and in that we've found Software Leasing. So we've partnered, I think a little over 6 months ago, with Software Leasing so that we can grow our capability and better service the Australian market. So really why it's a good fit is what we always try and do is make sure that we can handle everything in the one system. So in this case, it being Business Central, so Software and Business Central all live in the same system. And so what we found is that that's just going to really drive user adoption. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure we're not having disparate systems where there's one for your leasing, one for your general ledger. So we bring that all together. As you can see, we do work with some other technologies, but again, today we'll be on the Microsoft stack. Great. So on the agenda today, of course, we'll be talking a lot of lease management and the common challenges. So if you do have any questions as well, just hold them to the end and we'll go through those questions. The key features, we'll be working through those. So the end-to-end lease management, how we handle that, and how we make sure that's all in one system. There will be some talk of streamlining credit checks, which also plays into some local Australianized features in the Software product. And further integration with third-party products, such as ABN checkers. We will also have a live demonstration by myself, and then we'll go into a customer story from Sandra. And as I said, afterwards there'll be a Q&A, so definitely if you have any questions, feel free to ask them at the end. Great, so jumping right in, some challenges of lease management. So what we often find is that they do run as siloed systems. So if we have on one side the lease management software, and then we have on the other side the potentially ERP that will be running all the general ledger. And what we do find is that causes a lot of discrepancies, a lot of issues. And when we are working with a financial product as well, that does also pose a bit of a security risk. So what we aim to do with this, with Software, is it keeps it all in the same system so that we can have direct general ledger impact the moment you are generating the lease. And so the moment you're getting payment for the lease payments, then that will hit your general ledger. There'll be no time waited. So that's one of the benefits. The third-party data connection is also really important. So when we are going through a lease or a credit application, we find that there can be a lot of different third parties that we may need to check. So as I said, we might need to do a credit check. We might need to do an ABN check. And there might also be industry-specific checks that we need to make sure that we can connect to. And Software does work with lots and lots of different products across the world, and definitely lots and lots of different organisations in Australia to offer that. So any APIs that we might need to call, we can do that from within the Software product. The Australian tax requirements as well is something that's come up, and in the last few years, Software has actually developed an Australianised version of this software leasing product. So it does come standard with all of the GST considerations. So it does also have the postcodes, ABN checker, credit checks, all the things that we're discussing. So it does mean that it comes out of the box ready for Australia. Also, industry-specific requirements. While we have worked with quite a lot of different leasing companies, what we do find is that there is generally something specific to an industry. So we do have the ability to adapt all of those leasing products to make sure that they are fit for purpose for each industry. So then if we move to the next slide. Great, here we go. So again, the requirements by industry. So a few different areas we may work in: straight up automotive leasing, also any equipment leasing. And then there may also be independent leases that may not be directly related from the vendor's perspective to a vehicle. So we definitely work in lots of different industries. We'll just jump to here we go. So the product Soft4, it is really worth calling out that it is an all-in-one product. So it sits inside the Business Central product. So if you were to load up Business Central, which would be your ERP, in most cases, it doesn't have to be, but that's the platform it sits within. Then you would see everything in the same area. So what that means is that it gives you all of the benefits of the Microsoft product. So Outlook integration, Excel integration, all of those things that we love. The single sign-on. So your normal @company name login will work into the product. So it really helps streamline that and make sure that you don't need to lodge a second application. This is all web enabled. So what you actually access is a URL, and you don't need any on-premise installations. You can if you want to, and we definitely have some partners that have on-premise installations, but there's also the option to go completely into the cloud. So yeah, we work with individual customers to work out what suits them best. Because it is in the Microsoft stack as well, you do have the native integrations to other products such as Power BI. So just to call out, if you're currently using Power BI, normally when you connect your data set, you can actually choose Business Central as a source. And in that way, you could also do that for the software data, because at the end of the day, it is all hitting back into your Business Central general ledger. So you would be able to create your normal financial reports from Power BI. So providing that one-stop shop is again something that we find is very helpful. It is accessible on tablets, laptops, or mobiles, so you can access it anywhere and even any country. So if you are actually traveling for work, then all the normal authentication would apply, but you would be able to log into the platform. So there's quite a lot of functionality in the product, and I won't be able to get through all of this today, but really it does start from the lease origination, so or even from the quote. So we do make sure that everything lives inside the product. As I said before, the credit scoring as well, we can pull people's credit score into the system so that we can actually achieve that without having to go into a second system. Also, some clients do like a broker portal, so that this can actually be somewhat self-service. So it really does depend on the individual requirements. One thing that is common is the document management. So we always make sure that we're maintaining all of the documents within the systems, and there are checks and balances that we'll see later on to make sure that you do have the correct documents. Again, e-signature, so everything can be within the system, and the security is again quite a strength because it is all in the Microsoft platform, so we can be assured that all the authentication your IT company will be quite used to and quite comfortable with. It does work in all foreign currencies as well, so we can definitely make sure that it's either operating in AUD or you might be operating out of a different main currency. That's all definitely possible, and of course normal foreign currencies would be they definitely work in the system. Sorry. Great. So there are quite a lot of different leasing arrangements in the Australian market, and Sandra will know that there's I'm sure, a lot more in the European market and across the world. Just a few. We just wanted to mention a few. So operating leases, definitely handled. Financial leases, hire purchase lease, which is what I'm going to walk through today. That's definitely something that is standard. Also novated leases, which are quite common in Australia, as well as chattel mortgages. So whether it be something that is commonly used in Australia, you might be offering a product that is normally used in Europe, and you might be offering it in Australia, we can definitely make sure that we can set that up correctly. Great. So for the demonstration today, this is what I'm going to be running through. So it is a hire purchase. So what we're going to be doing is creating a quote. We'll be creating that into an application. We'll be working through some of the documents that we need to capture in there before we would be ready to send it for approval. And so we will get ready to submit it for settlement or submit the application. And then I guess if you have any questions, that would be the perfect time to either hold for questioning or we can discuss them afterwards, because I understand that I'll be running through a hire purchase, but that may not be applicable for your business. Great, so I'm just going to cast my screen. Great. So this is the software landing page. Again, you may recognize it as Business Central. That's because they're one and the same for this example. So what I'm going to start off with from my role center is that I'm going to go into the quotes. I can see that I've got 4 open, but I'm going to create a new quote. Great. So what it's done, it's created the new quote. I can see that it's defaulted my financial product, but I can change that. So I'll change that to hire purchase. You can see here, there are quite a lot of financial products that are configured. And again, this is where we would make sure that your companies are individually configured. So your list may be much smaller or could be much larger depending on what your offering is. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it as a business loan. And what I'm going to do is start typing in the customer name. It will start to search, and I'm just going to click on the top one because Gibson Inc. is who I want to raise this quote for. So here I can keep scrolling down. It has brought all of the information across from the customer card. So if I didn't have a customer card at this point, there would also be a process in order to create that customer and create all the information. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down and add the asset that the Gibson company is looking for. So I'm going to click on the 3 dots and I'm going to click on this Toyota Yaris. That's what we're looking for. So here, if we are dealing with an asset, then we would again set up, import your list of assets so that we can make sure that this is as simple as possible to select. I can see that this already has a purchase price set up. It's got a model set up. So that all looks very normal, and I'm not going to update any of that, except actually I'm just going to change that it's a used car from 2019. And so that will then appear a new option for me, which is the first registration date. So I'll just type in 010120 and it will know that's the 1st of January 2020. So just here as an example, there are plenty more options in the background. And so because I've selected hire purchase, it is changing the way some of these fields react. Oops. So then I can go down into financial details and have a look, see if I need to make a down payment. So we could actually add that a down payment amount could be made for, say, $1,000. That will calculate the percentage for me, and I could go either way. So that's perfectly fine. Sorry, great. So if I did have two applicants, I could enter in a second applicant. That would be, that's definitely possible. For now, I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. And so this is just a very simple quote. But so now if I want to commit to the next stage, then I would create my application. Great. So now this has an application number for me ending in 9. And I'll just go back and my new applications will now have increased by 1. And here we go. I can see that my application is right here. So now there's a few more details that I'm going to need to check on because it's getting a lot more detailed. If I scroll down, there's plenty more questions that I can answer. There's a lot more information, but what I want to go to for this example is go into my asset. And now that we're applying, I'm actually going to say, well, I have a license plate number. And I'll pop that in. What I could also do at this point is if I had any insurance policies that were being applied additionally or any accessories. So depending on what the configuration is for your particular kind of lease, we could always set up some additional options to add to the asset. I'm not going to add any in this case, but you definitely can. Now, if I scroll down to financing, this is really what we want to see. So this is the bulk of the product. So what we can see here is that we've still got our $1,000 deposit, which is calculated, that's around 8%. So we can see the total financed amount. We've also got our rate. So if there was any rate that we needed to change or any margin that we needed to change, we could update that. That has just defaulted through based on my particular loan type. It's also got 60 months. I'm going to leave that for now and just show you how flexible the product is with changing our term. So if I click onto financing and go installment schedule, which is really what we all want to see, I'll just make this larger. I can see any additional fees that I may need to add, any brokerage fees, so that's all possible. And now we go down to the installment schedule, we can see that what it has done, it has created 60 even installments right up to $0 remaining on the account. So what I could do is I could actually change this period. So I just will jump back from this schedule. And let me just change this period. I'll jump right down to 12 months. And then we'll have another look at the schedule. And we'll see I now only have 12. So it's increased the amount that I would need to pay, of course, each installment. So it is very flexible when you would be doing an application. If you were wanting to play around with changing the length of the time, any fees that could be incurred. So what I will do now is I would want to add some documents. So I'll just bring my documents up. So what I could do is drag a document across. And what it will do is ask me what supporting document is that? And I'll say it's a bank statement here. It will keep recording each of these as I add them. And until I get all of the required ones, it won't let me go to the next step. So we'll just press validate application so we can see that. And what it's going to say is that I'm missing a registration number. I'll just double check that. A contact person and an application ID, an applicant ID. So what we would always do is go back through and attach documents with exactly those. So I could attach. And then make sure I class this as the applicant ID. Great. So when we keep going through this, we would keep validating if we couldn't remember what we needed to add, and it will keep warning us of all the different things that we need to add. Once all of the warnings are resolved, then we could move through to submitting the application. So in the interest of time, I think I've gone a little bit over. I might just move on to the next step. But again, just to say, this is all tied back to the loan type that we set up, and that's where we work with you to make sure that the configuration is correct so that people can't proceed to the next step until they have the correct documents and the correct fields nominated. So it is very easy to make sure that it's a step-by-step process that the user does receive real-time feedback on. Great. So we'll just cast the screen again, and Sandra will now provide a case study about one of the clients that was implemented in the Australian market.
Thank you, Jesse. That was a great overview of the solution and high-level demonstration. And yes, we have a very limited time to show and present what the software is capable. And it's really comprehensive and covers a lot of back office procedures that you need to run. And basically, this is just a high-level setup configuration, but typically you have lots of document templates that we need to proceed before we approve the contract. And then you have a lot of around the entire lifecycle contract management daily. So you do the reschedulings, maybe asset replacements or anything around that part. So that's all supported in the software, but it's really time-consuming to present. And yes, thank you, Jesse. So we have quite few strong customers in Australian market all around the leasing, and today we wanted to share with Selfco Leasing and not specifically the case study, but a few facts that why they really stood out, why we really stood out for Selfco. It was the robust functionality of software leasing and basically the expertise of our consultants. What they valued was that how thoughtfully we addressed their market-specific requirements and consistently providing prompt and professional support they needed. So this combination of robust software covering all market-specific requirements and reliable support is what actually makes software leasing as a trusted partner for already many years with the collaboration with us. If there is any questions around the topic or if something specific I would need to clarify, please don't forget to raise the questions so Jesse and I could get back to you.
Great. Thanks for that, Sandra. So yes, if there are any questions that we don't handle in this, feel free to send them through and then we can answer. But I'll just look at some of the questions that we do have for today. And the first one is, what would the training look like for the users? So training, because WildTech is based in Australia, and that's sort of why it works very well partnering with Soft4, who are from Lithuania, so quite a far way away. We have our head office here in Sydney, and then we also have a large office in Melbourne, and we have some resources dotted everywhere. But really what that means is that we would make sure that we're offering training in person, on site, and then we work with Soft4 in the background, but we would be the ones delivering that in person, which we find really improves the quality of the training. The second question is, how does the software ensure compliance with Australian lease accounting standards? Yeah, that's a good one, and Soft4 have been working for the past few years making sure that it definitely does. I think that with any new client, we do find that the leasing product is slightly different, but what we do is work through each leasing product line by line and make sure that the general ledger impact is exactly what you're after. So that can be quite tedious, but that's what we're used to. So yeah, we would make sure that each entry of the general ledger is to the cent of what you're expecting. And so we play that back until we're satisfied, and then we'll work with you and your compliance team to make sure that you are satisfied that that is meeting all the compliance requirements in Australia. And then I think the final question is, what's the ongoing relationship with Soft4 and WildTech? Which, yeah, that's another good one. So we are the Soft4 leasing partner in Australia. And so what that means is that we are trying to work closely with all the existing and future Soft4 leasing clients so that we can provide support and implementation expertise. What it means from a Soft4 WildTech point of view is, though, we still regularly catch up, and I speak to Sandra probably every fortnight, but we still regularly catch up and make sure that if there's something that, say, our delivery team can't handle, we will speak to the Soft4 team. So we have a direct line with them to resolve any issues. And even if that means that the client themselves, you are after the direct support, you really want to speak to Soft4 as well, then we can facilitate that, and we're happy to all get in a meeting together. Great. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have for today. But again, thanks everyone for joining. And if you do have any other queries, feel free to reach out to myself or Sandra, and I'm sure we can help. I think leasing's obviously quite a big product, and it generally has specific requirements. So we're happy to hear about your specific requirements and potentially work through an even more tailored demo to meet your financial services product. Great. Well, I'll sign off there. Thank you, everyone. I think, it's been a great session, and thank you all for joining.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.